can continue.
Okay. New Life for All was in a local church. He joined in as a member of New Life for All within the local church and agreed to be the leader, even within his church.
Okay.
And he continued with other members like Sabon Rai, Musa Tumba, Bitrus Bokos, Baba Toma, and Baba Dalhatu Abdu. Others came later. And many others that are gone. They mobilized and became a team, and he was a leader. And that was how he came into New Life for All. And the first black general secretary, Reverend Yakubu Yako, seeing the zeal and the power of which they preach fearlessly, and that was his area and that was his love, and they became a team and they worked together. Yako was in the office, and Baba were on the fields, and they worked when the northern part of Nigeria was in complete darkness. They did fearlessly, preached the gospel at MS palaces, visited and programs in different churches and villages across the northern region of Nigeria. So, New Life had started, then he also had given his life to Christ, and on the way they met together and became a powerful force. And the Lord chose him to be the gospel team leader. And he headed that team until his home calling. He had some oppositions that felt, how was he elected? There was need for elect that office. And it was not an office of election, because a leader of such is elected by God, and he does the work that God has set before him. It wasn't a political office. That's why New Life for All it is ministry for evangelists, people that are called to serve, not people that are chosen and sent to serve by human beings. They are called to serve by God, and when they are in need, they pour in everything into it, including their lives, into the ministry, because souls has always been the target of the evangelist. So also Paul Gindry.
You mentioned that a prophecy has been already, in the air, so to speak, about an evangelist coming and having that sort of, veracity towards, and zeal towards the gospel. Who, if I might add, set that prophecy in motion, or how did the idea of the prophecy came about?
When prophecy comes, it comes from the Lord. It's not a human idea. Even when there was a prophecy about Paul Gindry, he wasn't there. But Baba Memagani, that was known, he was a street preacher, and he was an evangelist to the core. And he would preach at Duse Magani, right inside the Josman market then at that time. But then, as time goes on, and his time was closing, his chapter was closing, now he prophesied before his demise that there will be a fearless evangelist, an indigene of the state, that God is going to raise, and that man will be known by the great zeal for soul winning and fearlessness concerning spreading of the gospel. And when that comes to play, all his equipment, the speakers he was using then in the 40s, in the 50s should be handed over to him. And also his land, his properties. He had a land. And I would tell you that the land from Good News Church, behind First Bank terminus, that land that goes down to the local government, the present Chief Bongbom's palace, that vast of land in the heart of Jos belonged to Baba Mmakani. And he said he should be handed over to him. And to be candid, the missionaries, white missionaries that were there, handed over these properties, this equipment, and the documents to Baba Paul, but did not hand over. Take note, did not hand over the piece of land to Paul. Though part of it at that time were taken over by then LA, local authority, and plots were distributed to individuals. But then, I remember Good News was part of the plot I was giving, and it was to Paul and to New Life for All. And thank God for Baba Das, Reverend Das. He's still living. He was there when this land was handed over. And he also pleaded, because after Billy Graham came to Jos for a program, it was on this land in this Good News that he was hosted. This same piece of land. Billy Graham was hosted on that piece of land. After the program, Ekwa needed a piece of land for the English session of the church. And Baba were those people that asked Baba Paul Gindri that they should get this part of land for the Good News Church, the English session. That was given. This was told to me and to those of my other friends, disciples of Paul Gindri, by Paul Gindri himself, and confirmed by other pastors and reverends that were there. That piece of land went to Good News. Good News as a church, English session. The other bigger piece of land was for the New Life for All, from Baba Memagani to Baba Paul and to New Life for All, because Baba Paul was an embodiment of New Life for All. And we had Bishara Don Kowa. That was Good News. We call it Good News Evening Service. Service is there. Every Sunday evening we met. Very popular. People were coming from even outside the state to attend the program in that place. But finally, it has been taken over by Ekwa Good News. And it was taken over when we could do nothing. And since then, it has been taken over. We can only look at the place and pass by. It has nothing to do with Paul Gindri again.